Hi guys, what's up? Welcome to today's video. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, I am Kira and I am obsessed with all things beauty and makeup. So today's video we are going to be doing a ranking my everyday eyeshadow palettes. I'm just going to do a ranking my current eyeshadow palettes is what I'm probably going to title it. I did this in May. My eyeshadow palette collection is always growing. I always am buying new eyeshadow palettes. So at the end of May this will be different. And usually I declutter palettes. I usually try to declutter one palette every 3 months. I kind of already know what palette I'm going to declutter, which I'll talk about in this video, which I talk about a lot whenever I'm going through my eyeshadow palettes or I'm using it. But anyways, I wanted to go ahead and rank my eyeshadow palettes and let you guys know what I'm loving and what I'm not enjoying so far in my collection. I'm going through my everyday eyeshadow palette collection, which is my filming collection. Do you want to go throw that away for mommy, please? Thank you. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I thought about doing it from most expensive and then on, but then I kind of decided to scrap that idea because just because it's an expensive eyeshadow palette doesn't mean it's a good eyeshadow palette. And I personally have cheaper eyeshadow palettes than Natasha Denona that I think are just as good or maybe better than some of my Natasha Denona palettes. So that is kind of like what I had in mind. So my rankings aren't based off of price. My rankings are going off of, do I feel inspired when I use this palette? How happy it makes me and the kind of looks I create and just color stories, things like that. So let's go ahead and get into it. But before we do, be sure to like this video if you enjoy ranking eyeshadow palettes because it'll let me know to make more of these videos. Of course, comment down below if you have any video suggestions on how to improve my channel, anything else like that, or anything like that. And of course, subscribe to my channel because it really helps this channel out, really helps me grow, and yeah, so let's get into it. There is, I believe, 34 palettes in this collection that we are going to be going through and ranking. So that's a lot. But anyways, my number one palette is the Dominique Cosmetics Unconditional Love palette. If you watch my channel and you watch my eyeshadow palette videos, then you would know I absolutely adore this palette. This is the unicorn. I keep it because it's pretty. But anyways, Dominique Cosmetics is made by Kristen Dominique here on YouTube, and she knows what she is doing with her eyeshadow formula. Her eyeshadow formula is gorgeous. But just all in all with this palette, I am so inspired every time I bring this palette out. It's so beautiful. Sorry about that, guys. But anyways, even though this is a 6-pan palette and it's kind of limited as to what you can do with it, I have done full looks using just this palette. This palette is so gorgeous. I mean, the color stories she picked for it. I mean, I'm so glad I picked it up when I did. I picked this up last year when it came out. I mean, her formula for eyeshadow I knew was going to be good, but I didn't expect to love this palette as much as I do love it. This is definitely one of my big player kind of like palettes. I love getting this palette out. Probably for this glitter, which I know my hand is about to be coated in glitter. It's just such a stunningly nice glitter. It really, really is. And I mean, it really sticks to where you put it. It's so nice. This palette, I believe, is $28. I think it's still for sale on her website. Correct me if I'm wrong. I will try, if I remember correctly, to link all of these palettes. I'll probably have to do it off my computer because this is currently filmed on the tablet. But anyways, this palette is just so stunningly gorgeous, and I love it. I love it so much. Okay, my number 2 palette, if you have watched my channel for a while, is probably not going to be a surprise, and it is the Jeffree Star Mini Blood Sugar palette. What are you doing? Yeah. This is the unicorn it comes in. Sometimes I keep unicorn, sometimes I don't. But this is the palette itself. It is literally the miniature version of the Blood Sugar palette, which is probably his most famous palette. So this might surprise people that it's in my number 2 spot because for the longest time, this palette was in my number 1 spot for so long. But it recently was replaced by the Unconditional Love palette because when I sat down and I stopped to think about what really inspires me, what palette I get the most excited to use, and when I think my favorite, what I think of, what came to my mind was the Unconditional Love palette. And so that's why I ranked it in my number 1, because I love this palette just as much as the Unconditional Love palette, but for some reason, whenever I was thinking about my favorite palettes, Unconditional Love was just on my mind. And, I mean, you can do a lot with this palette, too. It's a 9-pan. It's $28 on Jeffree's website. And I do think it is a really good palette. I really, really do. If you love warm tones like this, especially that red, I don't have anything like this red in my collection at all. So this is a really good palette if you like these kinds of tones. Again, it's a 9-pan. It's very limited to the kind of looks you can create, but I have done a full look using just this palette before, and I enjoyed it. Okay, now it's time for my number 3 palette, and my number 3 palette is going to be the Natasha Denona Glam Face palette in Light. I have the dark one. I do have the dark one. However, I got it in May. I'm filming this video in May. So I haven't actually had the chance to use it yet. So that's why it's not going to be in this video, because I haven't had the chance to haul it and use it yet. And I won't have that chance until June, and I wanted to get this video up. So anyways, I absolutely adore this palette. This palette is $59, and you are getting the midi size shadows in this palette. I like this palette because you get a cream blush and you get a highlight. So if you aren't familiar with Natasha's formula, then you are able to really try the formulation just in one of these palettes, and you have some stunning eyeshadows. So I got this palette just for these 5 eyeshadows because they were so stinking gorgeous. Like, let me show you. Don't mind that glitter from Dominique Cosmetics if you can still see it sparkling everywhere. It'll go away eventually after I swatch my hand up 300 times. So anyways, this is so stunning. I've actually used all of these eyeshadows, including this cream blush and this highlight, in a look, just one look by itself, with all these products when I was doing a photo shoot. And my eyes were so gorgeously stunning. The tones on this are just so romantic and perfect. For me, this palette honestly seems like a bridal palette to me. That's what these shadows are giving me, is bridal palette vibes, and I love it. Okay, my number 4 palette is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Prim Rose palette. This is the unit carton. This is another one of those palettes that has face products in it as well, even though I don't like the face products that they chose because I think this is too dark and too orange, and this is too light for any skin tone. I think that they would have been better off to make a Prim Rose palette and have a blush and a bronzer in different shades, and just do like Primrose Light, Primrose Medium, Primrose Dark, like in that area. But because I won't use these on the face, I'll only use these as eyeshadows, which they perform just fine as eyeshadows. They just won't work for my face. But anyways, so let's go ahead and go into the shadows. So these shadows are stunning. The quality of this is definitely up with Natasha Denona, I would say. It's so nice. I believe this is... Let me Google it. Okay, I Googled it. This is $55, so a little bit cheaper than the Natasha Denona, and you're getting more product. So that's something to think about if you were looking between this and the Glam Face palette. I do think that the Glam Face palette is worth the $59 asking price, and I think that this is worth the $55 asking price. I mean, these shadows would go on for days, honestly, if you really wanted the shimmers too. So it's really up to you. I think that Anastasia's shadows are a lot more powdery, crumbly than Natasha Denona's. So that is something you could definitely think about if you were looking into that. So this is the Primrose palette, completely swatched on my arm. And I love this. I am so inspired every time I pull this palette out, just like with the Glam Face palette. I think that both palettes have a similar tone to them. Anastasia's is just bigger and built more on purples, but it's still got around the same tones as the Glam Face Light palette. But it's still so super pretty. I mean, there's so many gorgeous shimmers in this palette. So many. To be completely honest, I adore this palette.